Hey everybody, this is John Clark, and in this video I'm talking about group private practice. Is it a good idea? I'm going to walk you through some really concrete steps to figure out if it's something you should do or something that you should steer clear from. Let's dive in. Okay, so just a little bit of background before we dive in and start talking about group practice. Yes, I'm a licensed therapist, but I've been helping therapists now for as long as I've been a therapist. And yes, I have owned a group counseling practice that I actually sold. I'll talk about that process in another upcoming video. So just to give you a little bit of background about where I'm coming from. I've also I've been consulting and coaching therapists for many years now and have gotten a very clear idea as to what it's like to be a group practice owner. So question number one that you should ask yourself before diving into group practice ownership is, do you like being a manager? Do you like managing people? A lot of therapists, they go into group practice because they just fall into it after they've gotten full as a solo practitioner. They felt like, well, I'm pretty full. I'm even feeling a little bit burnt out, but people are still calling. So I want to make more money, so I should hire someone, or I want to make passive income, therefore I should hire someone. This is the absolute worst thing you could do, is involve other people in your life and in your business just because you want to make a little bit extra money and you want to make passive income. It's not going to be passive whatsoever. It can be less active than seeing your own clients, but I just don't want you to get into it for the wrong reasons. So if you are going to get into it, you do in fact need to enjoy being a manager. If you haven't ever been a manager before, then it might even be good to get some of that experience before you dive into it completely. Managing people is a whole different skill set separate from being a therapist. In fact, I don't think the two necessarily really translate very well because it's just a totally different role that you need to play for people. Even being a clinical supervisor is a very different role than managing someone as an employee of your business. Number two, you need to ask yourself, are you okay with more liability? The reality is you're going to have someone doing clinical work under your company, under your brand, and that's going to naturally bring more liability to you, your business, and your life. The reality is when you double the amount of clients being seen in your practice, not only are they going to be seen by a clinician that you can't always supervise, you can't always know what they're doing or even how they're doing their clinical work or if they're doing good clinical work, even though we always do want to trust that. So there is naturally some more liability to running a group practice. You're going to have your clinicians' clients be suicidal or have an overdose or relapse or need to be hospitalized, etc. And those things, especially when you're small and just starting out and don't have a clinical director, those things are very quickly going to become your problem as a group practice owner. You will in fact get lots of calls whenever something goes wrong, whether it's, hey, we ran out of toilet paper at the office, or the electricity is out, or, hey, my client is just texted me and said they're kind of suicidal. What should I do? So again, just to paint a realistic picture of what group practice ownership is really like, it's not necessarily going to be this cushy thing where you just hire people to just, again, make passive income or just hire people to kind of reduce your stress in your practice. There are a lot of other ways to make money that I want you to explore before you dive into group private practice. Number three, you need to look into this question of, am I going to hire W-2 employees or independent contractors? A ton of therapists misclassify their team members when they are hiring clinicians, especially just early on. And just because clinicians in your area are hiring one in one category or another doesn't necessarily mean it's the right one for you. I can't answer this question for you because everyone watching this video is in a different state or often different countries even. So what you need to do is, if you are going into group practice ownership, you need to meet with an employment lawyer in your area to really help answer this question. Am I going with W-2 employees or am I going with independent contractors? You can set yourself up for a lot of risk and tax liability if you don't take the time to answer this question completely here in the beginning. Now, with that being said, if the idea of paying a lawyer to give you advice kind of freaks you out or feels like, hey, that's going to be too expensive, then that's a good indicator that you're probably already not cut out for group practice ownership. Again, there's going to be a lot more moving parts, a lot more liability, a lot more expenses, and you need to be prepared for those things. So again, there's nothing wrong with not going into group practice. You just need to make an informed decision before you involve the lives of other people in your decisions to scale your business in this way. Number four, are you sure you're going to be profitable? Have you actually run the numbers And do you actually know that they're going to work out for you? Most group practice owners, especially early on, the main problem they have is that they don't know how to fill up their clinicians' caseloads. In other words, they've learned how to market, or they've marketed for their own practice, or they've gotten a lot of clients through word of mouth, but then they make one hire, and when they do that, they can't get this clinician full whatsoever. So then not only do you have this new person working for you and all the learning curves that come with that, but then you've got this new person who's actually starting to get kind of annoyed because they join your practice and you're keeping part of their hourly session rate and you're not getting them full. So a lot of running a group practice successfully comes down to your ability to market the brand in its own right, to market the practice in its own right outside of your own name and reputation. Because the reality is, people can know me, I can be the best clinician in town, but that doesn't mean that if people call, I can just say, oh, I'm full, but you should work with this other associate who's not quite as good or is, inexperienced or kind of new, but I'm saying they're really good, so you should come see them. It doesn't work that way, so do not set yourself up for failure here in the beginning. You have to really be able to market your private practice brand in its own right in order to successfully market a whole group private practice. The other reality is a lot of group practice owners, they take on way too many expenses as they're growing and they don't have enough revenue. So they have one office and then they make their first hire and they get a suite of 3 offices, but they still only have one clinician who's very part-time. And it takes a while to get that clinician full, even if you do have really good marketing in place. So this can be a very frustrating and a very risky situation to put yourself in. So you can go, and actually I have met an incredible number of group practice owners over the past few years who they tell me time and time again, I actually make less money now as a group practice owner as I ever did as a solo practitioner when I had really good control of my business, had a full caseload, low expenses, and a hassle-free business. So again, it's not that group practice ownership can't be great and highly profitable, but you need to do it very, very carefully. You need to do it well. My final piece of advice for this part is to meet with an accountant or a bookkeeper to help you do some projections in your business to make sure that as you do acquire more expenses, you're actually going to have more revenue. You're still going to be very profitable and you're not going to go into debt as you try to scale into a group practice. Number 5, I mentioned marketing before, but you need to ask yourself, will your brand allow it? In other words, is your brand going to make sense and work as a group private practice brand? Now, I made this mistake in my very first practice in San Francisco by launching johnclarktherapy.com. The reality is, once I got big enough or full enough and my marketing was working really well, I couldn't really hire under that brand even if I wanted to. Not to mention, I couldn't sell that brand once I eventually left San Francisco and moved back to the East Coast. So you have to ask yourself, have I built a brand that actually is going to naturally allow for other clinicians to come work in it and be just as marketable within the brand as I am within the brand as the owner and the group practice owner? If not, then what you need to do is create a generic brand or create a brand that does not have your first or last name in it so that that brand can completely grow on its own right. And so that as the brand grows, every clinician in the practice will have an equal opportunity at getting new clients. And finally, speaking of selling the brand, number 6 is, do you have an exit plan? This is something that most therapists will not think about in the course of either their solo practice or their group practice, but you need to have a plan to remove yourself from this business at some point, or even to step back from it at some point. As you scale and you're scaling and doing all the administrative stuff and all the clinical stuff, you need to at some point be ready to hire a clinical director. That's usually the first step that people take as they're scaling a group practice, is that they step back a bit and do in fact work a little bit less, but they have a clinical director who can be responsible for the clinical work happening across the practice. If you don't have this, it makes it really hard to fully step back from your business. Or in many cases, once you decide to sell the business and completely remove yourself, it's going to make it really hard for that business to keep running without you because you've obligated yourself so deeply into it. So again, I just wanted to give you a realistic picture of what it is like to run a group practice, some things that you need to look out for if you're even just starting to think about group practice ownership, or maybe you've been running one for a while and you're having some challenges. You need to think about all these things and you need to ask yourself these hard questions before you move any further and create more problems for yourself. I hope this video was helpful. Please do me a favor, click that subscribe button. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. Let me know your reactions, what's going on in your private practice, and if I can help you grow a better private practice and a fully booked practice, just head to thejohnclark.com and click on work with me. That's thejohnclark.com. Click on work with me. I'll see you very soon.